wish I could have the feeling again, and how I wish I could change what my soul is bare. It's when the headlines of blackened skies make me long for days of blue, and when it feels like the days go by now with nothing left to lose. Opinions spinning back and forth, the rhetoric we use, and I long for some providence on this search for sunken truth. But London on my soul cries out for shelter from this rain. My heart is beating quickly now for relief within, and how I wish I could feel it again, and how I wish I could change. My soul is been running out of the past. The world has not spent, so I will set it at last. Oh, I wish I could have this feeling again. And how I wish I could have the feeling again. How I wish I could change. My soul has been running out of the past. The world has not spent, so I will set it at last. Oh, I wish I could have this feeling again. Oh, this feeling again. Oh, this feeling again. Oh, this feeling Sick. One, two, one. And why do we need to be told what we think and we believe is right? People validate it and we'll still try to pick a fight. Voices talking, no one's listening. Why don't we even try? The truth is in the middle and it's neither left or right. We believe what we want to hear, and we see all that isn't there. And oh, I see you, but I don't believe you, 'cause your voice falls on my deaf ear. Preachers, teachers, politicians filling my heart with spite. But love is what should be there. It's a hand that's gentle, not tight. Maybe understanding could be reached and we could make it right. Through friendship and devotion, that is not red, blue, or white. We believe what we want to hear, and we see all that isn't there. And we say that we truly care, but the truth falls on our deaf ear. Oh, I see you, but I don't believe you, 'cause your voice falls on my deaf ear. Oh, I see you, but I don't believe you. Oh, I see you, but I don't believe you. Oh, I see you, but I don't believe you, 'cause your voice falls on my deaf ear. 'Cause your voice falls on my deaf ear. 'Cause your voice falls on my deaf ear. The 21st century screams like the ghost of years I misspent trying to fill up a hole filled by lonely, prideful sorrow. I'm letting go down from my throne. Been alone, trying to fake love from this pedestal testimony to all that I boast. And I'm letting go down from my throne. I'll never know what my life could be. saying that selflessness doesn't belong. Self-matrimony, so just sing along. Yeah, that ain't gold down from my throat. I'll never go my life. Down from my throne, I'll never know what my life could be in this 21st century.
All right, welcome back. We are at Lantern Coffee with the American Hotel System. Welcome, guys.
Thank you.
Let's talk a little bit about your tunes. But first, one of the questions we like to ask every artist is, what is inspiring you right now? And part of that is, frequently we think about artists and we think that you sort of are separated from the world and you don't interact with the art around you. Unless you're like Greta Van Fleet, people are like, oh, you just go to your cabin, you make your record, and you put it out. And so I'm curious, what music are you listening to? What books are you reading? What films have you seen that's really pouring into your art right now? And we can probably go down and all of you can say a couple things or something. Or Jake, you can say.
So I just started my second read-through of John Mark Comer's The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry.
Okay.
I read it last year, and it was amazing. I really needed it at that season, and then I just started it again. And then I also, along with that, purchased The Sabbath as Resistance by Walter Brueggemann.
All right.
Really like that one. Just finished a book by Emerson Eggerichs, I think is how you say his name. Before You Hit Send, Preventing Headache and Heartache. Okay. So a lot of stuff about, slowing texting? Down. It's about online communication.
Okay. Huh, interesting.
And that's kind of a thing that's, I think, a big theme of a lot of our songs is communication rhetoric. You know, I've destroyed a lot of relationships from being on a high horse on social media. It's a really good one. That's been really inspiring me lately. That's books. TV shows. Oof. I just finished House a few weeks ago, like 10 years behind everybody else. I started Psych. Yes. Those are inspiring to me. Oh, man. I don't know if I'm watching any inspiring TV. How about you, Christian?
Inspiring TV. I just rewatched The Magicians. It's an incredible sci-fi show. It's basically like Harry Potter, but they're college kids and they do college kid stuff. But it's just a really great show about people, about relationships, and this is like my third watch. Music, my favorite band, AFI. They just started releasing new music for the first time in a few years, and so that's been incredible, been really inspiring. So mostly I think spring is motivating to me. The getting warmer weather and all that. But yeah, I think that's it. Who wants it? Popcorn.
I've been reading a lot of Charles Bukowski lately, which he's a poet who has a lot of struggles and had a lot of demons in life. And yeah, it's been really good because he writes poetry almost like it's a short story. So there's a point and a purpose. It's not just meant to be all metaphorical. And so that's been a good read. Lots of pain and agony, but attempted solutions, but they're his solutions, and he doesn't take other people's solutions. So that's been a good perspective to have of my solutions aren't the end-all be-all from that book. And so, yeah, the other one I'm reading is The Irresistible Revolution, by Shane Claiborne. I'm rereading it, and that's a lot about community and really there's so many differences in the world, but there can still be peace, and that there just doesn't have to be argument over things that don't matter all the time. The things that do matter, you really have to speak up for. And so that's been a good book. I guess music, I've been listening to a lot of Ben Howard and Tyson Matzenbacher, lots of story songs, and so stuff that talks about people's lives and experiences, and so it's been good.
Cool. Let's see. Reading, honestly, mostly been doing theological books, but yeah, one I've been doing mostly is called The Second Coming of the New Age. It's just kind of talking about a bunch of stuff that's kind of making its way into the church. Maybe a little bit scary, maybe not so biblical, but I don't know. It's has a lot of great exposition of scripture in there as well. Music, let's see. Evanescence just released a new album that is absolutely amazing. Weezer just had one. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a strings guy, obviously. And so the Weezer's new album is all strings based, and it's incredible. So that's been having me, or that's been on repeat in my head. And yeah, I listen to a little classical as well, just to keep me going. But I think one of the main things that's motivating me is just projects and personal hobbies and stuff. Just kind of, I'm working on a guitar build project right now, and I'm getting close to the end of that, and so it's kind of getting me excited, and I'm very excited to be able to write new music on that guitar. So yeah. Big Poppy.
I think I get a lot of my inspirational material mostly from podcasts, mostly comedy podcasts, because obviously that's where my humor goes. It's always sarcasm and joking around, and I think that kind of just feeds it. And locally, there's a radio show called Free Beer and Hot Wings that's really funny that I listen to absolutely every single morning. It's just the best way to start my day is just by laughing and having fun with them. But other comedy podcasts like Never Not Funny with Jimmy Pardo, who we saw live at Dr. Grin's downtown, who's absolutely phenomenal comedian. He's very underrated, and not a lot of people know about him, but he's been running his podcast since 2006, so forever. But also Bill Burr, Joe Rogan, really good podcast to listen to. Musically, what I was just saying earlier was Need to Breathe is one of my favorite artists of all time, with a new album coming out this year. And when I moved to Grand Rapids in 2013, it was the first show I ever saw was at Calvin College and Need to Breathe. And a couple years later at Calvin, I saw my other favorite artist, which was John Mark McMillan. That's where I pull a lot of my inspirations from, that mixture.
Nice.
My answer. So I think something that the last year is the lack of shows. Obviously, we're here recording this. Yeah. So lots of bands doing incredible live streams. Yeah. And Haley, Samuel, and I's, some of our favorites at Switchfoot, they have done a super high production live stream every month since June, and we've been watching those. That's been just really inspiring to see what they do and how they go about it, and continue to put out music, put out hope. We've done a lot of bonfires too, and that's really, there's something about sitting outside together and relaxing and having no other distractions that's calming and inspiring for sure.
So obviously, y'all probably haven't played a show with people in a while. But thinking about as we sort of turn the page, the summer, this fall into live shows, what makes an audience at a show of yours a good audience?
A good audience. So the bar. So our last show that we did, show that was like tickets and all that. February 29th of last year at Space Bar. Rest in peace, Space Bar. Yeah, that was the last show we did. We've done a few outdoor things last year. Yeah, but it's been a very long time. What makes a good audience? I think that the bar is kind of set low for us. We played a show once that we just got cussed out for some reason, for no reason.
It happens.
And I think we were the only sober ones there, and so that's probably why. But that, and at a practical level, that's there. I think that I always really appreciate when I can talk to someone after we play, and they've engaged with the music, they've engaged with the lyrics, whatever it might be, the performance, the passion, something that resonates with them. I always really appreciate that. There's occasionally we'll get messages on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever it might be, emails of people saying, hey, like, I was in an abusive relationship and I heard this song and it was really encouraging to me. Like, that blows my mind. There's that guy after we played in Hart last year, and outdoors, everything. It was awesome. That felt really good. That was like our first one back in after like 6 months. But I talk about, we have a song called Fire, and it's about, you know, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. And I always say, if you've ever not been hurt by words, please come and tell me your secret, right? And this man came up to me after the show and he said, hey, I haven't been hurt by words since 2004. And I went, whoa, like, why is that? He was a veteran. He'd been deployed to the Middle East, and he shared with me his story. I mean, I didn't expect this at all. Shared with me his story, and he said, you know, thank you guys for helping me reconnect with my emotions. That's like such a huge, I mean, that's worth it. That was worth the whole thing, was just for that guy. So I think that's, if anybody can engage, I really appreciate that. But I think at the end of the day, the greatest gift that someone can give us is the ears to listen. Yeah. I don't think there's a bad audience, though. I think it's the ears to listen. I'm just super thankful for that, and that's a big gift. Does anybody have any other thoughts about? Yeah, go ahead.
Performing is one of my absolute favorite things in the whole world, and I look like a fool on stage because I just move around a lot, and something I love is when you can tell when you're on stage and you're having a good time and you're enjoying yourself, you can tell everyone in the room is there to see the band, just to hear the music, to feel the energy, to be there for that purpose. Because I've played a lot of shows where you can tell people are there just to, you know, have a beer or eat some pizza or whatever, and the music's just like an added bonus, you know, some atmosphere. Whereas those shows where you can tell when you're playing and people are interacting and people are, you know, applauding, they're singing, they're coming up to you afterwards, when you can feel that energy and you kind of become, you know, the band and the audience becomes like this one unit where you're all experiencing this thing. That to me is a good audience where you can be kind of united in music. That's incredible because you can feel when it's not there. Yeah. You can still enjoy yourself. You can still play really well, and they still can enjoy it. But it feels different when there's that union of showgoer and band.
Yeah. So we're obviously sitting in a coffee house, and I know that you're at least a huge fan of coffee.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. I'm curious, you know, coffee is one of those interesting things in that it is like a ritualistic thing that, or at least it is for some of us, in that we do we go through these motions over and over again. I'm interested in sort of one, how does coffee and music tie in together in your life, and two, are there rituals that you sort of perform throughout your day that bring you to the guitar, bring you to your notepad or whatever, like a coffee would be, that sort of tie in your daily rhythms into creating these songs?
So I became pen pals with the late Stan Toller, who was for a long time, the superintendent of the Nazarene Church, I believe.
Okay.
We met at a conference that Haley and I were working at, and I don't know, we really hit it off. And something he said to me, something that he said during his one of his final speaking engagements, he was talking about community and the importance of community. From church to church specifically, but I think this is very broad and applies to a lot of life. And he said one of the best ways to facilitate community is around coffee. And he said where there's coffee, there's community, and where there's community, there's opportunity to impact people's lives for the better. That stuck with me, and I think that music and coffee have a common community between them. Not just because musicians are attracted to whatever natural process, single origin, Ethiopia you have on pour over, whatever it might be. But the community aspect for me has been the biggest thing working in coffee. Christian has also worked in coffee for 8 years up until last June. And then just this week I moved on from a 5-year career in specialty coffee. And it's the community. I mean, these people have changed my life forever. And I think music is the same way. So I find myself, I have a small studio in my loft. I'll make a coffee, and I'll go upstairs and start working on music. And that normally is the process. I'm rarely in my studio without having made a cup of coffee. Christian, anybody else have it? I think that, yeah, go ahead. A newer coffee drinker.
Right, yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say, is that I'm... just kind of piggybacking on that, is the community is like 99% of it for me, because I didn't start drinking coffee till 2 years ago, maybe. I always hated the taste of it growing up, and then when we were in college, I made it my goal to make it through undergrad without ever having to rely on the caffeine, honestly, and I did it. But then I got to the end of that, and I was just like, okay, now what? I guess I can try it, and tried it a couple times, and I hated it. And it's a learned taste, obviously, but I definitely had this kind of spoiling because at that point Jacob was one of my best friends, and I started out on amazing coffee, and so now I can't have bad coffee. No, exactly. But yeah, it's just something about being able to gather around a table, or be... I almost said cable because I was literally looking at this cable. Gathering around a table and just having that fellowship. I guess maybe fake listening while somebody's going over what the blend or origin is, because I don't know any of that, but I am so glad that somebody does, to be able to provide it for me so that I know I'm not getting a bad experience. But it's just having that, just like you said, with music is very much the same. I work in a music store, and we have people coming in all the time. We're just chatting up about different songs or bands or gear, or and it's happened many times when we were just like, oh yeah, you're in a band, what are they called? Do you have anything on Spotify? Let's listen to it, or I'll check this out later, or something like that. And it's a very good parallel, because we get the same kind of conversations at different coffee shops that we do there, and it really has this. Music and coffee have this great way of banding us together, just as fellow humans, I guess. And we can talk about our struggles over a cup of coffee, or we can talk about how this song helped me get through this time in my life that I struggle, and I think that's really cool.
Last question. So you all have talked a little bit just about faith and about what you're reading and stuff, and think it wouldn't be a stretch to say that both American culture at large and the church are cultures in crisis. And how would you articulate the role of an artist or of a musician when a culture is in crisis? Or what responsibility do you feel as artists?
No, I can say something. Yeah. I think that I think back to growing up when I discovered a lot of the bands that have impacted me. I think back to the lyrical content and even just lifestyles, fashions, hairstyles, things like that from musicians that I liked. I think about how much I wanted to experiment with those things because of what I saw or heard from them. And then you get into deeper songs where you start reading the lyrics and you start seeing, man, this song is about this really hard thing they went through, or this song's about their divorce, or this song's about this. And when you think about it, you're like, as a listener, you are impacted by that, and you are affected by those things, and it changes you. And I think that being on the other side now, being a musician who has those listeners, who have those people who they take what we sing to heart, I think that we do have part of our job as a band is we have to have something to say. And I think especially with the issues and the things that we've been dealing with as a community in the last year, I think that it's important that we say something because people are looking. It might not be an obvious thing where they're like, oh, I'm looking at my favorite band for advice. Yeah. But, when people go through hard times, they listen to music. When they're happy, they listen to music. And so there is a job there. There is an expectation, unspoken, but there is an expectation that we need to say something and we need to stand for something because people are looking to us for hope.
So I have some strong opinions, period. I'm just kidding. Whoa, shocker. No, I have some pretty strong feelings about using your platform to say something worth saying, right? I think that artists, to echo Christian, artists have a responsibility to use whatever platform they have to tell their story, to help other people. There's a great book called How Your Story Sets You Free, and I forget the names of the authors. It's written by two people. They do the Million Persons Project. Anyway, very short read. It's about 100 pages, and they talk about how no matter if it's an audience of 1 or 1 million, your story is important, and your story needs to be heard by somebody in the world because your story is the one they need to hear to help them and inspire them. It really frustrates me when an artist has a platform, a large platform, and doesn't say anything worthwhile or doesn't say anything of substance. And I think that there's a responsibility, I would even say perhaps a moral responsibility to speak into the darkness and have hope. I think our EP Postcards that came out last year, we kind of found ourselves all isolated. We went 3.5 months without seeing each other. It's very, very strange going from seeing your best friends a few times a week to nothing. Quite devastating, and I think that's the story of so many people. I mean, I can see them now, and there's so many. I do keep in mind there's so many who won't. And kind of started writing these songs. We would have these Zoom sessions where we would just log on and be on for hours, and I'd say, hey, here's the code if you guys just want to come on. I'm just hanging out. And one day, Christian and I were Zooming, and I said, hey, I have this idea, and I started playing, and 10 minutes later, we had a song. 2 days later, it was being sent off to mix and master, and then that led to 6 more, and that whole project's about isolation and kind of the feelings that I had, not just last year, but broader of bitterness I was experiencing. Well, what do I do with that? What do I do with this bitterness? We had a professor that said bitterness is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. And I think that culture, it's so easy to be bitter and angry towards the other, whoever that might be, whatever situation you might be in, and realizing that we're made for so much more, and we're made to show love and compassion to each other. And so I feel that responsibility to say, hey, this is what I've been through, and this is what I'm experiencing, and hope and pray that it can help somebody, even if it's just one person. Yeah, there you go. Sorry.
I actually have something to say on this for once. I think a great example of that was when COVID hit. I remember when everything started shutting down. My wife and I were about to leave for a trip to Puerto Rico, and it actually got canceled that day. And we came home, and the only thing that I could see myself doing was watching Tiger King, because that just came out. Everybody did, but I remember specifically watching it, and I don't know if you posted it or you sent it to me or somebody posted it on Instagram, but it was talking about new shows that were coming out. It was talking about new music because of the quarantine that was happening and everything was shutting down. And somebody had posted something that said, remember in these times of loneliness and trouble, is that it was the artists that you turn to. Yeah. And I think that kind of speaks to the role of artists within the culture of crisis, because that's where people are going to go for comfort. That's where they're going to go for a sense of normalcy, because that's what part of it is in their life. Like, artists have always been there. They're always going to be there. And that's something that is probably not going to change. Obviously, the past year, a lot has changed, but artists have adapted and have stayed constant, I think.
I think that when I find myself in crisis, it's because I've assumed that I'm the only one that feels this right now. Nobody understands me, and I've isolated myself in some way from the people that at their best would be able to understand or try. And I've always found myself running to writing it down, and not necessarily putting it into a song, but putting it into some type of poetry, and then listening to a song. And I've been able to draw more parallels rather than considering myself uniquely different and troubled, to make myself understand that this happens to everybody. This feeling that I'm feeling happens to people just like this artist who I'm listening to. And so that's been a huge help for me in a time of isolation and working in healthcare and just being in a tough spot and in a big period of change in my life. And so as an artist, it's like cool to have that feeling that you get to receive that, but then the idea that you get to also try to do that for other people is a really pay it forward type feeling, but also just very humbling, and I just love it. So
yeah, and I think even encompassing all of that is both in kind of helping other people feel that they are able to express things through their art or however they express things, and also just kind of having the I don't want to say spotlight because that makes us seem famous or something, but you're just having people's eyes on you, especially during all that's gone on, like you were saying, Jocko. That's a spot that we can lead from example, that we can show integrity and just kind of upstandingness, I guess, and show the true meaning of being able to come together as a community, and I think that we definitely are maybe not tasked, but we have an opportunity and an obligation, I would say that, to be able to show love and that community there, and even just in our everyday lives, even in our past stories that we can say. I think of mine and Jacob's relationship back 7 years ago. You said earlier that's insane, but he and I were bitter enemies. We absolutely hated each other.
Like hate in my heart.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And we, through no fault of our own, it was a lot of working of the Holy Spirit, and also I think both of us just maturing a lot as well. But we've been able to really come together, and now I love him like a brother, and that's something. Redemption like that, stories like that, are things that are can be great inspirations. Not saying that ours has to be or anything, but stories like that we can share to be able to uplift people, show them kind of where we are, and be able to communicate love and change that way as well.
Well, thanks so much for being here and bringing your tunes. You can check out the American Hotel System wherever you listen to music. Grab the EP that you put out last year, and we'll see you around, hopefully live at some point
hopefully,
in the
hey.
summer and fall. So thanks again.
Thanks so much for having us.